Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to be checking out A Fan with Too Much Time's next episode of Star Wars Warhammer 40K. This is going to be episode 16, Unexpected. This is the second half of it. This time around, though, we're going to be looking at what is probably going to be one of the things I'm really looking forward to the most, other than the librarian fight, because I'm still very hyped for that and is building it. So, we're going to jump in, see what happens, and see just how bad the guy every single person in the comments referred to as the villain of the series is. Basically what I'm saying is there's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. Fan does great work, and just make sure you go watch the original video and subscribe to it if you haven't. If you like this, subscribe here too. And let's get started.
Ayla had had enough.
Ooh.
She thrust her hand forward, issuing forth a column of the Force. The air thrummed with the energy of her attack, the concussive wave rolling out from her and colliding with the room and everything inside it. Walls shook. Consoles exploded.
This guy's not going to be moved at all,
and
is
the
he?
few windows that looked out onto the road burst and blew out. Ayla did not drop her guard for even a moment, fully expecting retaliation, but being surprised twice more instead. No retaliation came, which was unexpected. Yet what she found even more shocking was the state of her targets. The room looked nearly destroyed, save for everything near the three Imperials.
That is a level of control that you don't really see. Now that I think about it, you just don't see that. Usually you could see bigger displays of power in 40K, but that precise nope field, outside of general psychic shenanigans being turned off by nulls, which I don't think either of these are, or any of the three people in this room are, because Magos, what I'm assuming is, or people have told me, is not actually a cultist, and what I'm assuming is a Chaos Sorcerer. Yeah. They don't usually do fine control. I'm sure someone can do it like Magnus, but he doesn't usually show that, because when he's on screen, they only have him there for big set-piece moments, usually at this point. Whether or not they're actually used that way, but that's my own griping aside. But, I just can't think of anything off the top of my head that shows this fine control, at least on a human scale.
Looking at the lines of dust on the floor, she could spot with her keen eyes the spherical border of protection which had blunted her own attack.
Not just a barrier
that the central figure among the three was the source. Another Force wielder. As the dust and detritus cleared out of the air, the Jedi Master was able to see that her push had not been entirely negated, succeeding in stirring and dropping the hood of her new opponent.
She moved the wind.
sight drew the breath out of her with an audible gasp.
Why?
Was this man supposed to be human? His face was long, almost snouted, with a grin filled with filed, shark-like teeth, and rows of them at that. His
Oh, that's not a Chaos Sorcerer, unless he's very mutated. So either he's a heavily mutated sorcerer, which is entirely possible, or is that a demon host? Do demon hosts on the Chaos side actually walk around uncontrolled? I thought they were usually used by sorcerers. I might be misthinking this.
Eyes were pure black, like a doll's eyes,
Dude.
and his head was utterly hairless, revealing slightly pointed ears and a wide, too smooth scalp. And there was something more as well, a dark, pervading air of menace which was pouring out from the man like a gushing font. He finished turning, grinning.
Between the ears and the slim features, I'm almost thinking Dark Eldar, but that couldn't be the case, right? They've been keeping this mostly strictly human level on the 40K side so far. And I don't think they would ever do stealth well.
His filed teeth at her. She wasted little time, not even waiting for the man to complete his deliberate turn, dashing forward, blue blade leading the way. The creature in the black robe suddenly picked up speed, becoming a blur as he broke and bent the rules of time and space, reaching into the confines of his void-shaded robes and drawing forth a glimmering black rapier. Sparks shone along the umbral steel of the obsidian blade like stars in night's tapestry, glowing bright as it repelled Ayla's attacks, forcing her back with a surprising amount.
Oh, it's a force weapon. That makes sense. You know, considering this is the Star Wars crossover, calling it a force weapon probably is a little confusing. Just to clarify, I mean, it's a psychically empowered weapon that is usually referred to as a force weapon, like a force stave, a force sword, example such as that. Although in this case, I'm assuming it's probably a regular sword that a Psyker and or Demon host is directly empowering with said, well, I guess force is accurate on this side, but still, psychic power. Goddamn! Also, that stands up to a lightsaber.
Of strength as the Imperial thing drove in with its own offensive. The shadows in the room danced, backlighting flares of blue and white light as the two blades
definitely dead in this fight. There's no way she survives this.
Spun, piercing through the future.
I thought maybe she could outspread the word. No, this seems like an introductory
a blur
usage.
Of motion and grace. The Imperial creature matched her grace with a lethal waltz of his own.
I want her to say this out loud. I know it's probably not going to happen anytime soon, but I want her to accuse this person of being Imperial and them to laugh because, oh, she is so off target with that one. Oh, man. And the best part is, we know why that's ironic. He would know why it's ironic. She will probably have no idea before it probably kills her. Yeah, I'm absolutely convinced at this point, her inclusion right now isn't to spread the word that there's other factions within. No, she's the sacrificial, well, red shirt, showing us just what this guy can do with a Jedi who was shown to be competent prior to this. Although, admittedly, she did depower her own level estimation by comparison to the 3 normal level Psykers. So, not too bad, not too good. It gives fan room for overhead to say other people can match up better without saying she's the best as she was beaten and everyone else is just kind of doing better but without being able to. I just kind of like how they're setting that up.
Black robes trailing as the thin, deadly edge and point of his power sword darted and swiped for her.
Yep.
Several times, the Jedi had been sure she had finally caught him in a mortal exchange, only to find herself slowed or even sped up, fouling her timing and enabling her opponent to fight on.
Because he's
she
fucking
felt
around
her
with her,
teeth
isn't he?
pressing against each other in growing frustration, warring to keep balance within herself.
Usually have this much
This
control?
man, this thing,
Psyker,
was
powerful
different
enough
from
might,
the other Force wielders that the Imperials had been using. Perhaps a master of their orders, whatever form that took in their twisted empire.
Honestly, I'm going to say a master Psyker in the Imperium, considering how few they are. The people who have the absolute level to say that, they would probably crush this guy. That said, they are usually named characters in 40K, such as Mephiston, and he's kind of broken in general.
However the case may be, the beastly man before her was no novice when it came to close combat, and his method of using the Force was disturbingly novel and indirect. Instead of increasing his direct strength and speed, he was corrupting time and space to achieve similar ends. The tactic left Ayla off balance and struggling to keep up, feet backtracking as the Imperial advanced, forcing her cleanly out of the cramped room.
Oh, actually, that's kind of interesting. The way fans set up that specific description of corrupting the Force and reality, because on our end, 40K, timelines, time itself, and space are kind of, I don't care, as far as the warp is concerned. And the fucked up part is that description is perfectly accurate to how Games Workshop has sometimes described it. I say sometimes because it very much depends on the author. But in Star Wars, time doesn't get fucked with nearly as much. They might put things forward because reasons, like it was in stasis or it was a clone or holocron. But you don't really have the backward aspect, where 40K, that's the thing. So here, it's someone who's from a universe and a faction that says, I can fuck with time if I have enough power and the gods are okay with it. And they're also in a world where no one's going to push back against them. So it's like, they didn't say anything. I guess they were okay with it. Ayla has no idea because they don't do that in this version. So the corruption would be the usual warp shenanigans is exacerbated in the same way that Gax early on was able to draw so much more power than he normally would because lack of people saying they want to eat his face and or soul at the same time. Probably always the same time, actually. Never mind. There's no or. It's and all the time.
Back through the short hallway that led to it and into the wide, spacious area of the abandoned transit center. Enough! She yelled. The Jedi Master exhaled a powerful 360-degree wave of raw force, managing to shove the dueling Imperial back. She then reached towards him with her free hand and did as she had done before, touching upon the Imperial with the Force itself and seeking...
Oh, no. She's about to find out firsthand why those previous Imperial Psychers were so disturbingly okay with dying without being connected to the Force. Yeah! Oh, this is not going to go well. Oh, no.
The multitude of cracks and flaws she knew would be there. No matter how brave,
if she's lucky,
disciplined,
he doesn't have
ambitious,
flaws.
or faithful, one could not wield the Force with true mastery while fearing it like these Imperials did.
Funny thing about
Ayla
that,
found her target easily enough, and once more took the Imperial by the metaphorical wrist and twisted. But those same flaws, those which had been present to each Imperial servant up to this point, were not present here. His grip held steady, firm, and once more he gave her that shark-toothed grin as he realized what she was attempting. Before she could recover from the surprise of her failure, he seized her as she had him, though instead of attempting to break her grip on the Force, he did something altogether different.
Brought her in.
Like the sudden thrust of an unexpected lance, he pierced her mental defenses, if only briefly, and touched her mind to his own.
Oh no.
Ayla moved to her own protection immediately. She was no stranger to mental trials or mind warfare. But she could not have prepared herself for what he assailed her with. Images, thoughts, sensations. Unlike every time before, this mental attack was not intended to rend her thoughts, steal her memories, or alter her perspectives or beliefs. Instead, the Imperial created a brand composed of memories, sensations, and experiences and pressed it hot and bare to the metaphorical flesh of her mind.
Oh.
He was only able to keep purchase on her for seconds, almost less, but even that much time had been enough.
A metaphorical brand, so he probably just put an actual psychic curse on her, at least in 40K terms. Branding her with Chaos's sigil, essentially. In Force terms, I don't know how to describe that. Like, it would be an imprint left over, but I honestly have no idea how that would even be conveyed in terms that would fit into the Star Wars universe. It's a lot easier in 40K, just because that's a pretty common thing to do, actually. I was assuming she was getting killed this episode, and now I'm wondering if she's not getting off that lucky. She is still a Jedi Master, and she would have a very normal connection to this side of the Force, so what would a Chaos-corrupted Jedi Master look like in a universe where there technically are not Chaos gods? I'm really curious how Fan might go down that route, if that's the route he decides to go down.
Ayla's wide eyes reflected the trauma of her mind's vision. She had seen billions, untold billions, marching in forlorn trails, each step dragging screaming minds closer to their deaths. She had watched the sky fill with teeth, the entire expanse of space becoming stuffed, bursting with ravenous mouths and pincers and worse.
The funny part is, what's freaking her out right now as Fans describing it, is literally just an average day on a chaos-corrupted and or consumed world. The fact that there are still bodies there is relative, because time can be effed up. They can die and be reborn and unborn a few dozen times. I know exactly what I said, and it could very much be that, because again, time and space are relative to whatever someone likes to fuck around with at that point.
She had seen the horns and eyes of monsters which parodied existence itself.
Yeah,
Felt the tongues of fire that issued from their lying words. Death and war and promise and pain. A galaxy ruled by the dead, the violent, the scheming, and the mindlessly obsessed. She watched worlds burn and burn and burn without end. A death 1,000 years long, dragged slowly out. She tasted the ashes, ashes born from ashes. And in the last instance, she could even hear it. The laughter. The horrible laughter.
Really, Fan? I could hear Nurgle now with the deeper groaning, and that previous sound that's definitely representing Slaanesh.
Even hear it. The laughter. The horrible laughter. When she finally found
You actually I don't... You found 4 different clips of people laughing to fit the audio for the Chaos Gods, and you chose the most off-brand topic possible for Slaanesh. And I hate it that it makes perfect in-universe sense for what you're describing and what 40K would describe, and I hate it because it fits. It's cringeworthy, but it does work, and I just... God damn it. I don't even... That's just... Well played, fan. Well played.
Found herself orienting back on reality. The Jedi realized that she had fallen to her knees, and that her saber had dropped from her hand
40K
and rolled
her in
to the
head,
feet of the grinning
monstrous
thing that faced
and that sound.
Her fingers were trembling, clutching at her tunic vest, feeling the rapid beat of her heart thumping hard and uncontrolled in her chest. She took a deep breath, but found herself unable to calm the racing of her heart. She attempted to rise, but found she lacked the strength to do so. Ayla looked up with unbelieving eyes at the monster who now stood over her, blade raised, foot trapping her weapon beneath it.
If she's lucky, they only kill her.
What are you? She breathed.
Damon.
The Imperial smiled even more widely, his grotesque teeth appearing to grow larger as his thin lips withdrew.
And might actually be doing that too.
He extended his own free hand towards her, and Ayla shuddered, gasping as a harsh pressure suddenly pushed in on her from all directions, holding her perfectly in place and rendering her utterly immobile. Once he seemed satisfied with his psychic bindings, the creature lowered his black rapier, and the unnatural blur which had surrounded him during the fight fell away.
Okay, one, he's being smart. He's binding the enemy who seems down so that he can drop his own protections. On the other hand, oh damn it, the enemy's smart. And yeah, Ayla doesn't look like she's getting off so lucky as to just die. Ooh. I mean, she might not be my favorite character, but this is one of those fates that you're just sitting there going, can we show this kind of stuff on YouTube? And I'm asking that partially as, I don't know if I can, and partially because it's gonna get there probably. Oh no.
She could observe him more clearly now, seeing that the bright golden smudges on his robes had not been the results of merely blurred metals and pins,
from underneath,
but also the distortion of a large golden threaded symbol which predominated the front of his robes. An enormous, stylized eye.
Stylized eye? Oh, I thought this was Chaos, but that might have been an Inquisitor? His stylized eye is more Inquisition. What? I thought this was Chaos.
The Imperial took a shallow bow, splaying his arms in an open, mocking gesture.
No.
I am the eye that watches from the long shadows, said the man-creature, black eyes glinting.
No. That is a very distinct phrase. I am the eye that watches from the long shadows. Maybe it's a stylized eye in the more Egyptian sense, so it's probably more Tzeentch related. No, all 4 gods were laughing, so they would portray all 4, so it's probably Chaos Undivided. There's no way this is actually an Inquisitor. I could see an Inquisitor using a daemon host, but this one seems to be in charge, and that would be weird, unless it was a daemon host of an Inquisitor who was bound and then escaped because warp fuckery.
Said the man-creature, black eyes glinting. I am the hand.
Also, I just realized what cover image he's using for his description of this guy giving his monologue. You chose this. You chose the book Inquisitor. One of the most Slaaneshi possible books written in 40K, which is supposed to be from the Imperial's perspective. Oh, wow, that is probably the most damning way you could have chosen an image for this. I mean, why don't you just do something like actual off-brand art to use for their character image? That would be so less disturbing. If you don't know what the book Inquisitor is and some of the things that were in it, and Bruva Alphabusa did a deep dive into this in a podcast where they went over the initial book and then did a lot of initial contact with authors, and Yeah, why'd you have to choose this picture, Fan? Why this one? Really? You had the Slaanesh going, off-brand noises there, and now you have this, and what kind of story are we getting today? I'm actually a little concerned.
Which commits the sins saints dare not consider. I am the mouth which questions silently, for those answers which must not be known.
Considering he's bringing up saints without revulsion, he might actually be Imperial Inquisitor. That's incredibly radical to the point of he's not really an Inquisitor, but he doesn't realize that yet.
I am the judgment of the righteous and the warden of the grey. I am an agent of the Emperor's most holy and devout Inquisition.
I mean, okay, he is claiming to work for the Inquisition. Seriously? On the upside, Ayla's in luck. She's not being captured by chaos, which would be eternally bad for her. This is just the Inquisition, and one who is so incredibly radical that he seems to have made himself into a daemon host. Or dealt with so much chaos that he's become mutated. Either one is really bad, and if any other Inquisitor sees this, I mean, it's not uncommon for Inquisitors to try and kill each other or deem one or the other heretical and then do so. I mean, if they actually carry it out or not is a different thing. I'm thinking of a certain tyrannic war Inquisitor that I will not name, but that would be a little bit of a crypt call right on that one for that man. But more importantly, this guy is Inquisition in name only, and I think only in the sense that he thinks he still is. Which, admittedly, isn't actually that uncommon for some of the Inquisitors who are really just playing to Chaos's tune without realizing it. Yeah, granted, that's for a lot of people too.
And I see that despite our legend and reputation, I am, yet again, unappreciated by my allies.
Oh, he knows they don't like him.
Utterly and unappreciated by my allies.
He has a complex.
And by my enemies. Utterly unexpected.
He said.
Yeah,
Ayla tried to draw in breath,
but
could barely manage it. What do you want? She asked. His unpleasant smile became even more demonically composed.
Yeah, and Fan is very much choosing that word intentionally. Talk about the Inquisitor as being demonically composed. Yeah, did he intentionally daemon host himself? Or is he just that mutated? I'm going with probably daemon host because the use of the word demonic right here to describe how he's looking and the things changing on him. I know there's some Inquisitors on the radical end who do fully embrace chaos because they think, well, there's probably a safe way to do it. And of course, the usual issue I brought up prior to that event. No, it's not. But also, if this guy isn't already deemed some kind of traitor or heretic, I will be very surprised.
The intention in his eyes reading as vile in every sense.
I was admittedly not expecting your intrusion.
The unexpected was specifically in reference to him not expecting her. And then it doubles up as saying how we're not expecting a chaos-corrupted Inquisitor who doesn't realize he's chaos-corrupted because he thinks he's in control still, like an idiot. And also because she's not expecting to run into an Inquisitor because she doesn't know what an Inquisitor is. And 3 layers of the term unexpected for the title working here. God damn, that's actually really impressive.
Jedi.
It even name dropped.
I thought us rather well hidden here.
Nope.
That being said, your arrival is not unwelcomed.
I have no idea what he just said. Your arrival is not unwelcomed. Oh, yeah, she's not getting off easy. This is going to be bad.
Arrival is not unwelcomed.
Is his audio getting better?
I have longed for a Jedi specimen of my own, ever since arriving in this putrefied galactic disk. And...
Putrefied? Putrefied galactic disk. That is not the phrasing I was expecting. Putrefied would almost represent, like, rot. But this is very much the uncorrupted, because he's corrupted himself, so the lack of corruption would probably seem odd to him.
And now, well, now I have one,
he said, reaching into his robe and drawing out a thin silver scalpel. Ayla shivered at the sight of the cold instrument. The metal almost seemed to shriek in her mind, as if
a chaos-corrupted scalpel. Of course, that's the thing. Also, yeah, all that cold detachment, that's gone. Ever since the brand hit her, that's stripped away. And I like how fans not pointing out that it's stripped away. He's just showing that it's stripped away, like using the term saying that she shivered. That is something that in the first half, when she was very much in the mindset of, nope, it was never used like that. We didn't have those human type of, well, I guess, sentient level emotional responses that sound more normal. And it made her seem, oddly enough, more insentient. She's not human, so saying inhuman doesn't really work. I'm trying to figure out a better phrasing. I don't see. I'm just going to give up. Probably call it inhuman.
The echoes of 1,000 agonized voices were left staining its otherwise bright.
Depending on his age, that might be a literal number, if not an
against the
underestimation.
restraining force around her, but found no give in it, heart racing even faster as the man took a step towards her and began to bend. Her hand tightened, squeezing again and again in futile resistance. What do you want? She reiterated. He grinned his monster's grin.
Seriously, fan, how many shark teeth setups did you have to find? They're all equally disturbing. Why did you do that so accurately?
A new pawn. Someone who can be my eyes, my ears,
controlled,
my will inside
the master's
your
thrall.
republic. Thank you for volunteering. And don't worry, while this will involve a lot of catting, I will be sure to steer...
Catting? Oh, he said cutting, didn't he? Cutting. Clear of your pretty face.
Clear of your pretty face.
He kneeled down to be at level with her, long, serpent-like tongue sliding out to lick across his lips, somehow avoiding the edges of his many teeth.
Soon I'll split open that naive, soft mind of yours. I'll tenderly, carefully scoop out the things I don't want.
Oh, so he's literally lobotomizing her into a thrall that's just going to literally answer to his will and probably just act as a puppet. And he'll probably just leave enough in there that its pretendability is accurate. I'm not even going to say that he can act as her, or she'll still act as her. She's just going to be an empty vessel that has just enough motor skill to move like she belongs, probably. And if we're lucky, it'll kill her psychically and it's just a meat puppet. But I don't think we're that lucky. Oh, this is one of the worst options. Still not the worst. Full-on chaos would take the soul. And that would be worse. But again, there's no gods here. I'm not sure how that would go. It actually might not be as bad as it would be in the 40K universe. On the other hand, this is like right under it in terms of really bad outcomes. I'm actually a little freaked out right now.
And
good on you, fan, for succeeding in doing that.
In pieces, I'll stitch you back together. With me inside.
She felt involuntary shudders fill her, and a desperate, wild fear began to gnaw at the binding of her discipline. Her knuckles were white, eyes wide, almost
giving up on
bulging
discipline
as
might be
the
a good idea right now.
Inquisitor
Just lash out and run away.
stroked the flat of his scalpel across her cheek. Stop! She started.
Shh. The work here is mine to do. All you need to worry about is the screaming.
He cooed as he...
And yeah, this guy is definitely influenced heavily by Slanesh. I mean, the entire... Oh yes, the screaming. He's enjoying this so much. There's Like, there's probably other things, like the putrefied galaxy seems more Nurgle-inclined verbiage. The enjoyment of the screaming is very much Slanesh-based. Haven't got to the... Maybe the hiding would be more showing influence with Tzeentch, but I don't really see much so far with Khorne. Granted, Khorne doesn't usually go for more magic-y things. Sometimes. When he can acknowledge it. I mean, he'll gladly cheat because I'm looking at you, Lorgar, but still, not often.
Raised the scalpel, now angling it to do more than stroke. His smiling face twitched, and a degenerate eagerness spilled off the creature in waves. Ayla knew he was not trying the least bit to hide. Her heart ached in her chest.
Oh, it's going to do a lot more soon.
So fast. When was the last time she had felt fear like this?
Scurry.
If you're lucky, you kill yourself. It might be safer.
Loud and long, Xenos. Scream to make my work go all the quicker. Tau Eldari Rackle. You will be mine.
Okay, just gonna throw it up there. The way he spoke has gone 3 different ways since the beginning. When he was first shadowed, he had very abrupt sentences. When he was fighting, he was a little harder to read with a distortion. But now he's at a whispering level that is actually more understandable, but sometimes lose it. You see what I mean? It's actually interesting how fans portrayed him in 3 different audible ways. I'm wondering if that's more just the Chaos Corruption individually showing favoritism to a god and changing how he speaks. I think that would be a way higher level of dedication to a character this new, but I don't know, fans sometimes has pulled off some crazy things like that, so it's not something I can discount immediately.
Words were cut short by an unexpected explosion, the ceiling above them breaking open as breaching charges detonated. Debris and dust spilled in, followed closely by Aquila Squad, led by Captain Graves at the front. Heavily armed and already firing, the clones descended in a range.
And we needed red shirts, and oddly enough, she might get out on this one. And bring information to the... sorry, they're not Imperial yet. The Star Wars Republic side about, yeah, no, there's actual challenges for Palpatine. I mean, they don't know they're delivering that information, but he'll understand. And I'm loving this. Also, it is kind of fucked up that in many ways, this is more fucked up than Palpatine gets directly. Theoretically, he did do things like this, but they're always kind of in the weird Legends section where even Legends didn't always acknowledge them. Yeah.
Rain of blue bolts, one of which caught the Inquisitor in the chest, staggering the man back, though the bolts seemed to barely scorch his robe.
But it actually hit him, which is more than she did.
On his shoulder flaring to life and sheathing his entire body in a brief field of eye-achingly bright luminescence.
Oh.
Upstarts!
The Imperial barked, punching out with his scalpel-bearing fist. One of the many rings there flashing to life, bursting apart as it issued forth a draconic column of what seemed to be pure magma. The gout of heated material completely devoured the forms of 2 commandos instantly. But their attack had still managed to break his concentration, something which became clear when Ayla's lightsaber flew up from where it had been on the floor and into the Jedi Master's waiting hands. She leapt forward in a lunging thrust which saw her connect with his lower torso. Once more, the Inquisitor was tossed away, the metal on his shoulder flaring bright and then bursting as it expended its technology, defending him from the lightsaber.
Damn Xenos!
He roared, blurring once more and narrowly avoiding 2 more counterstrikes, dodging blue bolts all the while. Just then, a set of wide double doors burst open, and more squads of troopers composed of some of the Vanguard.
And now we are seeing the best way to deal with any overpowered threat in 40K. All the DACA, also known as the Orc option. Granted, they would never describe that in Imperial side, Star Wars Imperial or 40K Imperial, but technically it is actually a viable method. If there's enough bullets hitting it, eventually something will happen. It's just getting to that enough point. That's always a discussion point in its own right, and it's kind of fun to watch.
Vanguard spilled in and began to open fire on the Imperial from their side of the room. The Inquisitor leapt and parried, and Ayla was slow to pursue, leaving him with time to aim his fist again, destroying another ring as it fired a thick, black beam of some kind of energy.
Stored spells?
The beam warped and crushed the wall into a small marble of dense material, but this time the commandos were ready, diving and rolling out of sight and avoiding the stream of malefic death. Meanwhile, the Inquisitor was batting aside the blue bolts fired from the Vanguard, face a rictus of fury as he did. Ayla steadied herself, about to dash back in to confront the monstrous Imperial.
Don't have time to bleed. Oh my God. Sorry, I normally don't comment on the art itself other than fans' choice, but whoever drew this and they actually just decide to write that in there, it's such a silly little thing for the heavy stylized shark teeth, but they just wrote on there, don't have time to bleed. I don't even, it's... Oh, God.
When she sensed something, the shark-toothed man was drawing in power, feasting on the force like a starved beast let loose in a pantry. She knew what came next, and reached out, attempting to intercede.
Try with a lightsaber.
Be gone from my sight!
The Inquisitor ordered, black eyes flaring white as power rolled out of him, crashing and trampling over itself as it rushed invisibly towards the troopers. Ayla managed to throw her presence between them just in time, her mental influence reaching and rushing around the billowing wave of psychic death their enemy had issued forth. And yet, once more, Ayla found herself facing a different kind of beast than the ones she had been dealing with before.
Overwhelming.
This man clearly did not fear the Force as the other Imperials did,
and I will fully admit, wisely feared, because again, you look at this guy. I keep saying he doesn't realize he's corrupted. We see he is very corrupted, and that would explain why he mentioned that his allies don't, like, value him. I can't do his accent. I'm not even going to try anymore, but yeah. But yeah, it gives him power, but at the cost of literally anything he should never give up is being thrown away.
And his techniques were not half as blunt nor comprehensible as those she had already encountered. Ayla's head
he probably would know better.
Back, blood spurting from her nose from the psychic backlash, only barely managing to stay upright with the help of Captain Graves, who had reached her position along with the rest of his squad. General, are you all right?
No, get out.
Asked, supporting her as she blinked her eyes
when
back
in doubt,
into focus.
throw all the grenades.
The Vanguard... Ayla muttered,
probably
holding
dead.
her head in her hands. Graves looked that way and scowled beneath the visor of his helmet. Half the Vanguard had died instantly when Ayla's defenses had failed, heads bursting like struck water balloons in their helmets.
Only the heads.
The rest had little time to thank their good graces as the Inquisitor crossed the distance between himself and the remaining clone troopers. His image a fuzzing, disorienting blur of motion. Men began to scream and die as he waded in amongst them, driving his rapier into eyes and throats and then into backs as troopers attempted to scatter. In what seemed mere moments, he had killed the entire Vanguard force.
Smile. Vader says hi. Someone had a lot of fun with this art. I'm sorry. I'm not commenting on the story itself, but just... Whoever drew this one. Nice. 2. I thought that there was signatures first when it drew out enough. It's like, oh no, Imperial, Vader, they're just having fun with this. Oh my God. Also, why are they not retreating? They're probably thinking they can hold them off, even though all evidence to the contrary shows they're not succeeding. They should probably just try and blow it and get the hell out of there. And by blow it, I mean everything they can with all the explosive they can.
Robes smoking, blood boiling on the black blade's wickedly straight length. He turned to face Ayla and her elite clones, face dark and indistinct. The commandos had already lined up their shots and barely needed their captain's command to do what they knew they needed to do. Open fire!
Yes,
Graves
do
ordered.
that sooner.
Aquila's squad did so, though in place of the traditional rain of blue bolts, they opted instead to fire their underslung grenade launcher attachments, a personal favorite of this particular...
Oh, hell yes, the platoon that actually has the exact right outcome for here. I don't think it'll do any damage to this guy. I think it'll do a lot of damage to everything he's standing on. And hopefully that'll surprise him.
Unit. The explosives sailed on plumes of trailing smoke, exploding on contact with the ground wherever they fell. But the Imperial Inquisitor was far from done, growling and baring bloody teeth as he swept his free hand out in front of him. Fully half the grenades which had flown for him seemed to bounce against the air, ricocheting back the way they'd come.
Not exploding?
Graves grit his teeth, drawing his blaster pistol and neatly sniping the two explosives out of the air before they could make it back. Already, the Imperial was advancing at an unnatural speed, skidding across the distance like a Jedi possessed.
Funny you should mention that.
Back up, now! Graves radioed into his wrist comm. He then snapped his arm out, firing with the rest of his squad in a desperate attempt to halt the monstrous advance of the enemy. But try as they might, they simply could not pin him. He was too fast, and when he wasn't, he made their sluggish bolts even slower.
Of course he can slow down things coming in. I knew he could speed himself up, but it only makes sense he could slow down everything coming in. So dodging projectiles is literally easy to him, probably, because Star Wars shots don't actually go at the speed of light. They're significantly slower.
Meters between them and him were vanishing by the second. Ayla,
only meters.
Leaning against his other shoulder, stepped forward and raised her blade, sweat dripping down her chin, teeth clenched as she struggled to control her nerves. They were nearly pitched from their feet then as another explosion rocked the building for a second time. This one even larger than the blasts of the breaching charges.
Something happening outside.
The entire windowed wall of their left came away, and in swept the Aquila herself. The name of both
gunship,
the
hell yeah,
and the gunship
christening
the side of the painted craft. The leering...
A gunship painted with a rancor? I guess I can kind of see it. It's been a long time since I've seen one, so it's hard to tell.
Orange and red face
cool
of the
art,
Starbird the gunship was named after faced the Inquisitor. The blaster cannons mounted just beneath the stylized beak also clearly honed in on his position, as were the two wing gunners and the various missile pods mounted above them.
Yep.
There was a pause, a moment where the Imperial monster faced down the hovering form of the Republic war machine. Both instruments of death weighing the other. The Inquisitor raised the heel of his right foot, and the gunship opened fire. The Inquisitor reached out with his left hand, the green blaster bolts diverting to the left and right as if striking a reflective barrier in the air.
Okay, so he's not stopping them or slowing them down like before. He's just deflecting them, which is probably smart, but I like how Fen is setting this up because he's been showing... Honestly, he's actually doing a technique he's done already. To build up the fight with the Space Marine Librarian, he's been showing us escalating levels of power usage in the Force, starting with Gakken showing a high end of, but at the cost of dissolving into Force goo. I'm not really sure how to technically put that. Dissolving into Force goo? Ecto Force Plasm? Whatever. And then we're seeing the lower end with the Psychers Ayla took on earlier to show her level, because that's where she said she was like at their level a little higher and skill, but they might actually be able to pour more power at the cost of themselves. And now we're seeing the Inquisitor, who handily handled Ayla, who's handling, I don't like the phrasing here, the entire clone unit that's jumped in and just tearing through them. Now we have him at the level of a gunship. He's deflecting it, so we're seeming to get close to his high end, and I think he's probably going to destroy the gunship. And maybe that'll be enough to get them to run away at that point.
Before the whole ship quaked, trembled, and began to creak in the psychic grasp of the Imperial.
Called it.
The wing gunners attempted to open fire, but found their own beams similarly diverted or unable to reach. But the rain of more mundane blaster fire from the commandos, the continuing hail of blaster cannon bolts from the turrets on the gunship, and then Ayla's own force push met his defense at once and overcame it.
So he was distracted, that's his level.
Spinning away, robes scorched and smoking from every surface as he took off at a run, leaping up onto the wall of the transit center, and zigzagging his way higher and higher until he was within reach of a second-story balcony.
Oh, he's not running away. He's getting room to jump on this thing, isn't he?
Gunship, now free of the man's psychic vice, fired all its missile pods at once. The Inquisitor barely managed to leap over the salvo as the munitions whistled in, his blurred body arching in the air, landing on the balcony like a dark meteor trailing...
No, wait, no, I have that backwards. Star Wars isn't the one that has the low-tech options intentionally chosen. Huh. I guess that's just not something they generally thought would be useful.
Black smoke and rolling backwards onto his hands and knees, just managing to avoid the blind, scything volleys of blaster fire which chased after him. Keep it up! Smoke him out! Graves ordered.
Honestly, the smoke might be doing more damage to him than anything else at this point.
His blaster rifle, preparing the grenade launcher. A hand grasped the barrel of his gun and forced it down. Scowling, Graves turned in shock to find the culprit was none other than his own general.
What?
No! Belay that order! We are retreating now!
Smart,
Ayla
but
said
not
to the
surprising.
others. But General, we must pursue!
Get out.
Graves insisted. If we pursue, we die. Let's go, commandos!
Because if they go any further chasing him, he can put them in a disadvantageous position where the gunship isn't there and they can't overwhelm him. Also, we're seeing that power level increase. We've seen what a high-end usage could do, but at the cost of a normal human's life. We've seen what the low-end usage could do with the cost of just damage to themselves. And now we're seeing what a high-end unrestricted user can do who's still at the normal human levels with a lot of chaos corruption involved of what the Inquisitor could do. It's basically equal to a unit or being their own strike force. And, you know, considering he's running away and they're already retreating on their end, the Mechanicus guy who's working with him and the, I'm assuming, attendant? Probably other Daemon host is just, they're kind of in the background. I'm kind of wondering if they literally just left already and we just missed it because it just wasn't important to the story or something. What were they trying to do then?
That's an order! She snapped. General, Graves said in acknowledgement, waving his men back. The commandos maintained a lethal screen of fire as they pulled back to the open side hatches of the gunship, mounting up quickly, reading no life signs in any of the others who had come with them. Once they were all on board, Ayla grasped onto the back of Graves' armored shoulder and squeezed hard enough for him to feel it. In response, he raised his wrist comm again and spoke. Pilot, gun it! He ordered. Sir, the clone affirmed, spinning the gunship around, allowing the tail gunner to take over the covering fire.
I also just realized that scene about people being driven in mass in line so their souls are consumed. They're literally... He showed her the Golden Throne eating souls, huh? That's probably what that was. And I immediately equated it to a Chaos World. It's kind of fucked up when you can think that that's not entirely inaccurate. I mean, unless you're in the upper chambers, and I mean that in both physical senses and status symbol senses, Earth in 40K is fucked up. Granted, the people who actually make it high enough not to think it's fucked up are fucked up themselves, so yeah.
Before lurching forward in a rush of repulsor lift boosters. They were out of sight in
really
seconds,
surprised Ayla survived.
even as the Inquisitor stalked up to the shattered wall, watching the lingering trails of smoke left in the wake of their retreat dissipating. He pondered as he did, and then listened as his malicious servant dragged himself to his side.
I suppose you have a good reason for not intervening.
That probably is a Daemon host then.
The Inquisitor growled.
You told him not to.
Yes.
Cackled the creature who cowered in his shadow.
Your orders. You claimed the reckoning was yours.
It crooned.
Between me and her, yes. But the replicae were clearly not part of that arrangement.
The Inquisitor retorted.
How powerful is the Daemon host when unshackled? You know, considering he's assuming that the Daemon host intervention would have overturned the power of the gunship, and it seems reasonably certain the Daemon host is trying to fuck him over because Daemon host. Granted, the Daemon host is getting what it wants by definitely not corrupting the Inquisitor, who's doing it himself, so honestly it might even be accurate. Yeah. That guy is going to be probably the next step up in power before we see the Librarian fight.
The malformed thing shrugged its uneven shoulders.
You could have killed them all if you had truly desired it.
It said.
At what cost?
Yes, at the cost of revealing myself to every psyker on the planet.
Oh.
You will be punished for this.
said the Imperial. His monster hissed and clawed the ground, rending furrows in the steel floor.
You are merely venting on me,
yes.
Master,
whined the thing.
You are upset that she got away.
Yes.
It dared accuse. The Inquisitor merely laughed at the notion.
The Jedi can run as far and as fast as she can. There is nowhere on this world she can run to that will enable her to escape what is coming.
That is a very interesting phrasing. Because I thought initially he was referring to the brand, but what is coming usually refers to something bigger encompassing the entire world. They did have that bomb on the planet, so... Oh. I thought the... But then they... Is he trying to access that to blow it up if they need to? Why? Or maybe it's something else. Are they... It's a radical Inquisitor. There might be something even more fucked up going on for all I know.
She has only prolonged the inevitable.
Okay, none of that. I didn't expect that to go down like that. I was certain Ayla was going to get dragged off, the scene would cut to black, but then this torture scene started and something, I can't speak today. Something happened involving her getting out. Not seeing that coming. I could see the brand happening. I could see her being dragged in. I could see her being killed. And all of that makes sense because if she's lucky, that's what would happen. But this is a way more interesting way because it shows that he's holding back. He expects the demon could have helped, so it's another power over what he was showing, and he is then established as being higher, so we can come back to the demon host as a power-up level, and then him again as a power-up level before we probably hit the librarian, because honestly, I would put a librarian with the Space Wolf chapter. I think it was a Space Wolf. Honestly, I don't even remember at this point. No, it was with the Crimson Razor still. A Crimson Razor librarian at that level, and say that between them, I think the Inquisitor would probably lose out, even if they're going full chaos, just because librarians are transhuman to start with, and probably way older, more naturally older, so they have more experience with it and way more experience fighting with it, because that's literally what they do all the time. So, all I'm saying is, Van is setting up steps to get to that fight, and the steps are amazing. It's the only reason I'm not actually annoyed that we're having so many additional moments being pushed back, because on the one hand, I want to see it. On the other hand, everything up till that is really cool. And he's showing us the building of power levels. So he's establishing how things are going against each other, rather than just saying, here is the one big thing, here's the other big thing, I'm going to hit them together and it won't make sense. Because he's building up why it makes sense by showing how things interact at various levels. He's done this a lot. I've talked about it a lot. And it's still freaking cool to see it done well. Because even internally, that logic isn't always present in some usages of some type of magic. And it's being done here between two different systems better than most internal systems have it displayed. Yeah. So basically, I like how he did this. It's well done. It's thoughtful. It's really freaking cool, man. Basically, I'm a fan of a fan with too much time. I realize the irony in the phrasing, but still, if you haven't already, there's a link below to the original videos. Hit them up. Wait, I said videos, plural. Whatever. Video, hit it up. And when you're done, subscribe if you like this. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.